Hello, and welcome to Master Gardening. I'm your host, Bud Qualk, and we're in the aftermath of one of the worst ice storms in Kentucky history. We lost a lot of our trees, but today we've got a certified arborist come to show us how to do it right. And Tammy says I'm certifiable. So stay tuned, I'll be right back. Welcome to Master Gardening, Kathy Keeney. Okay,
Hi, Bud.
we're going to do some pruning today. We're going to talk about trees.
Yes.
And you are a tree kind of expert, aren't you?
Well, I am a certified arborist through International Society of Arboriculture. Yes.
Had to take the test and all that good stuff?
Had to take the test.
Have to do the demonstrations?
Yes, you have to do a lot with it. You also have to maintain continuing education units every so often. And the test itself has a 50% fail rate in it. So it's
with
not
me
everybody.
Would be more than that. So if I put the tree service on my truck, I'm not just an automatic arborist?
No.
Oh.
If you're a certified arborist, that means that you have gone through extensive training in massive disciplines. I mean, it's like 7 to 9 disciplines. So you're well trained in not only how to prune a tree, but also how to identify trees, how to take care of a tree, how to look for hazards in a tree.
And how many of you are there in Western Kentucky? I bet I can count them on one hand or a couple fingers probably.
So far as practicing arborists, there is one in Western Kentucky.
You or besides you?
No, I'm not a practicing arborist. I'm a consulting arborist.
Okay.
And we have actually certified arborists. We have 5, but there's only one that actually practices.
Okay, so if you look in the phone book and you're looking for somebody that's an arborist, you can forget it. You need to
there are arborists that are coming in as a response to the storm damage.
Oh my! But okay, I'm a homeowner and I've got a bunch of damage.
Right.
I'm a geezer. People are knocking on my door. Just how do you choose a good one? How can you feel safe that you're not going to get taken?
Okay, there are certain things that you can do. You need to look at the ISA website, which is isa-arbor.org.
I said I was old, remember? I don't have a computer.
Okay, then you call me.
Okay.
And I look on the ISA website and I'll check it out for you. If they say they have a certified arborist, get their name. Okay. We want to make sure that these people know that we are checking them out. We have several companies in the area that are saying they have certified arborists and they do not.
Okay, besides the certification, what else do they need to have?
You also want to look for insurance.
Okay.
If they do not have liability insurance or workers' comp insurance and they do some damage to your home or they are hurt on your property,
you got to pay.
You have to pay. That's right, and that's not good, especially after all we've gone through.
I'll bet most of them don't have that, so you got to be really careful.
You have to watch. They also need to have their city license and their county license, because that way, if something does happen, there is a tracking mechanism so that we can get a hold of them.
Okay, I've already heard some horror stories. Okay,
they're out there.
Are you ready to get out there and get some pruning? We got a chainsaw too. I can't wait. I love chainsaws. Don't you, Tammy?
I don't think we'll put you in charge of the chainsaw.
Oh, come on now. Okay, let's go get them.
Okay. All right.
Go. Kathy, here's a good example. This one hadn't been hurt very bad though. Look, the leader looks really good, but what would you suggest we do with this thing?
Okay, we're looking at 2 different aspects of it. We want to relieve the immediate dangers, and then we want to look at shaping it up for the future and making it a healthier tree for the long run.
Safety first, right?
Safety first. One of the things you want to have is safety glasses, something that will block any debris from your eyes. Also helps you, helps your head sometimes, but it also clears your vision a little bit better. Okay. Sometimes these, for the most part, safety glasses are polarized, so you don't have the glare. Okay. On a day like today, it's overcast, it's not an issue, but it is still very happy, or it's a good thing to have in order to keep you happy.
Oh yeah, okay. Okay, what do you think here? We got at least a couple, maybe 4 branches busted here.
On this lower section, there are 3 that are immediate, and then we have 2 up above, and then we have a leader up above that we need to go ahead and sublimate, which means we cut part of it in order to allow the rest of the tree to carry on.
Okay.
It'll grow more slowly once we remove a few of the limbs.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and bring the chainsaws in now? You want to,
first things first, I want to show you a little bit about tree biology. Of course, everybody knows.
Water dripping down here, is this sap or water?
That is sap. It's spring, and this is a maple, so we're looking at sap running.
Ooh, that's sticky.
Yes,
yeah.
It is sticky. It actually tastes very good too.
Oh.
You look at the roots, you see that the buttress roots, you have the root flare down here, which is good. That gives you a good idea that, you know, it's not planted too deep. It has a good root zone. You look at the trunk, you don't see any southwest damage, which would be severe cracks and splits caused by too much sun in the winter time. The bark is nice, it's fairly smooth.
Pretty healthy tree.
It is. All else considered, it is. I want to introduce people to the bark ridge. This is where the branches meet the trunk, and as you see, we have multiple ones here. We also have the collar, which is this swelled knuckle right here. Whenever we make a cut, we want to make that cut just in front of that collar in order for it to scar over properly. The tree
compartmentalize, for gosh sakes. Compartmentalize, yes.
Compartmentalization of disease in trees. Coat it. And what we want to do is we want to eliminate as much of the danger as possible. So we'll do a 3-point cut, which means we'll come in, we'll do an undercut, then we'll drop the main weight of the limb. That way, if this section up here starts to slip and the bark runs, it'll only run to where we've undercut.
That's very important. I've seen a lot of them where it peels all the way down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to avoid that. And then we'll make a cleanup cut right here. So that's the 3-cut method. You do the undercut, the drop cut, and then the cleanup cut.
We're going to see a good example here in just a minute, right?
We'll see a prime example. We have a wonderful helper here, and he knows what he's doing.
Okay.
Let's do an undercut first. That way, if it runs, it won't go beyond this spot.
Gotcha.
Then we can start dropping the weight.
Ready?
Ready. That's good. We're good. That's good. Now we can start dropping the weight and bring it on back. You see how much that weight caused that branch to spring up? Okay. Okay, now we want to do our finish cut, which will be just in front of this, which will be right about here.
Okay.
That way it can scar over properly.
Now, Kathy, what happens if you get too close?
If you get too close, you wind up with a hollow. You'll actually have rot that gets in, and it'll create a hollow in the trunk.
Okay, what if you leave it too long? What do you get out of that?
Again, you'll have more disease that runs down those fibers, and you'll have more of a hollow. Eventually, it will drop off at that point, but you'll still have that.
So this is the best chance for compartmentalizing and
exactly.
And scarring over.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Okay, what about any of those other ones up here? You think we ought to do this? We ought to do the same thing to those, right?
Exactly. Once we remove these and this, we'll have freed up all of the damage on the lower part. There's a few up above that aren't as bad, but we've released the hazard at that point. And then we can start looking at eventual training of the tree so that it'll do better in the long run.
Hopefully we'll see some examples, but I've seen where a lot of the cutters, the tree services, even some of them, come in and just chop off the ends of that and make it like a haircut all the way around.
Right.
Why do you
we
want
tend to refer to that as topping or hat racking.
Or disease.
And it's an unsafe practice. It is very much an unsafe practice.
There's hardly any example of that would be acceptable then, right?
It's the only time that that is acceptable is when they do it about 2 inches off the ground.
2 inches off the ground. I've seen that done too. Yeah.
There's been a lot of that here lately.
Okay, that sap's really dripping there, Kathy.
It is.
What's it taste like?
It's actually very sweet.
Kinda, yeah, kinda.
I mean, you know, this is what you make. This is what you make syrup out of.
Get a
Now,
cup.
If you want to get a cup, you can do that, but it takes 40 gallons of sap in order to make 1 gallon of syrup.
Never mind.
It
I'll
takes
stick
a
to
while.
my homemade winemaking. Okay.
It takes a while.
You want to go ahead and finish these up and then do some pruning, or you want to go on to another specimen?
Actually, let's go ahead. Let's finish this
Finish
up
this
real
one
quick. That way we know that we've got one down.
Okay, I don't have my glasses, so I can't do any work.
Yes, I bet you can. Actually started to break itself right there at the proper spot. So, you know, if you do the undercut on...
Drop the weight.
Yeah, drop the weight and then... But just do the undercut. That way we can get that, we'll keep that bark from running. And you come out about 6 to 8 inches in front of it. On out a bit. There you go. You only need to go about 1 inch or so deep. There we go, that's good. That'll keep it from running. Okay. This one's a little tricky because of the fact that there is a limb right above it that we'll have to remove. There we go.
Okay, Kathy, we've got a few of the limbs off here. What else would you do to this? Just explain to us the rest of the pruning. Say the rest of the damaged limbs are off. That's what you're going to do first, right?
Right.
Then what else would you do?
Okay, for this year, nothing.
Good.
Because we've removed the hazard. Mother Nature has pruned a whole lot, and technically speaking, we don't want to prune more than 20 to 25% of a tree at any one time, because we have to allow for the canopy to fill up and put the photosynthate, or actually the energy juice, back into the tree.
Yeah. The more pruning, the more stress,
the more
chance
pruning,
of
the more
losing
stress,
the tree.
the more likelihood of insects and diseases occurring, because you've stressed the tree. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead, finish pruning this, and leave it. Let's remove the hazards and make safe cuts. But then next year,
okay,
once we get this tree out, you know, it starts
recovering a little bit, yeah.
We get it to leaf out, it recovers, we get some more growth going. What we can do is up at the top, you'll see that it's forked about halfway up. And what we want to do is we want to remove that right-hand fork so that we can do a process called sublimation. This is a double leader at this point.
And how do you choose which one?
I'm looking at which one is straightest and which one has the best branch angles coming off of it. The one on the right has very tight angles to the main stem, and what we want are the ones that actually come out more like your thumb would on your hand.
Stronger crotches.
Stronger crotches, exactly. And that's what we want to do, is we want to train this tree to have better crotch angles, because those are the limbs that will have the most strength, and they'll actually do better whenever you're looking at ice load, wind load, you know, some sort of disaster situation like what we've just recently gone through.
And that's we're going to talk about that a little bit more later, but when you're buying a tree, those crotch angles are what you want to look for, right?
Exactly.
Right.
You want to make sure that you have a tree that has good, strong angles.
No Bradford pears.
there's a possibility there though.
Okay.
There's a possibility with cultivars.
Let's go take a look at this other tree over here.
Okay.
Okay, Kathy, look, I had a bunch of these in my yard that did this. Some even bigger ones. I had some big ones that were in the yard.
Yes, and they went deep into the ground.
And through some roofs.
Yes, they did
Yeah.
a lot of roof damage. If you look at this one isn't bad. It's only gone in 2 inches. But that could be your skull just as easily as it was the ground.
Yes, it could.
So what you want to do is you want to be careful when you're around trees that have hazardous hangers in them or, broken limbs, because they can fall. This can puncture into your brain.
We've had
Which-
people get killed in this
Yes.
area by limbs.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a policeman that got killed in Arkansas just from this,
A limb.
and that was with this storm.
Okay, this tree right here is a good example.
This
of
one is
hanging
a
hangers.
prime example of dangerous limbs.
Let's go around the other side. This has got some really good damage. Well, bad damage.
Bad damage.
Bad damage. There's a hanger right there.
Right here, you see this limb. It comes out.
Thank heavens it's a small one.
It is. However, a 2-inch limb will take off your head.
Broke my
Literally.
boss's hand one time, a 2-inch limb. that
Exactly.
fell. Yeah.
This is a scarlet oak. Scarlet oaks didn't fare quite as well as some of our other oak trees, but you look at the branch angles, they come out nicely.
Great, yeah.
And those are the limbs that didn't have the problems. If you'll notice, the ones where the angles are much tighter
That's
are the
right.
ones
I just
are the
noticed
ones
that.
where you have all the damage.
Yeah. And the leader got broke out. That's always bad news.
It is. However, can we salvage this tree? It's possible.
Give it a chance, right?
We have to give them a chance. We remove the damage, we remove the hazards, and then we have a
Wait and
safer
see.
chance of this tree surviving.
So once you get the damage off this, you sure as heck don't want to do any more pruning to it because it's got to get a
No.
bunch of it.
This one we may lose because of the fact that we're looking at probably 50% of the canopy being lost.
Yeah. And you always want to prune back to...
You always want to prune back to a main leader. You want to follow the rule of thirds, which means that you take a branch that is 1/3 the diameter of the branch you're removing and cut back to that. That way you
back
have
to that collar.
back to the collar. Cut just in front of the collar. You're listening, I'm glad.
I know, I'm learning.
And that will give the tree a better chance of surviving, because the energy that would normally go out the main branch will then divert down into that smaller branch. And that way you don't lose the carbohydrate stored. You still have some of that energy flowing out to that
That's what a lot of people don't realize. When you cut the top of those limbs off, you're
no
cutting off
place
the
to
source
go.
of the food, the carbohydrates.
It has no place to go, and you wind up with quick, weak growth, which means you have water sprouts, which means, they're going to
They're
cause
weak.
more damage in the long run than any slightly damaged limb.
Now, what if you don't have a limb to cut back to? You got to go all the way back.
You
Oh
want
my.
to go all the way back. You don't want to really cut a limb that's more than 3 inches in diameter. This one's pushing about where you want to be, but you want to cut just in front of this swelling, so about 1/4 to 1/2 inch in front if you needed to remove this limb. Fortunately, this one has a good strong angle, so we're in good shape. We have nothing broken on it except very small stuff.
So remove the damage.
Remove the damage.
And wait and see.
Wait and see.
Okay. Okay. Good.
All right.
Great. Let's go take a look at these evergreens over here.
Okay.
They're beautiful.
They are.
Kathy, these are beautiful trees, and
Right.
they look like they haven't even been in a storm.
They haven't.
What kind of trees are these?
These are spruces,
Yeah.
and the good part is that they're built for this. They're built to carry the weight load. These branches can go all the way to the ground,
Yeah.
and then once the ice and snow melts off,
They're
they
used
spring
to
right
it.
back. They're very, very flexible. You have very supple limbs. They're used as Christmas trees a lot, and actually that's one of the things that people can do is they can buy live Christmas
Yeah.
trees, balled and burlapped, and then plant them out in their yards later, and this is the result.
Well, I've got a couple of white pines in my yard, and one of them's about 20 feet tall,
Uh-huh.
and it went all the way over and was touching the ground, and it came all the way back almost. So it's kind of leaning, and other people may have those too. They didn't come all the way back up straight. What?
Well, you may have popped a few roots, but a few roots is not bad. What you want to make sure of is that the roots are sound. So you want to check around on the base of the tree. Get a certified arborist to come out and check. Just check, you know.
Cheap?
Not necessarily cheap,
Okay.
but it's cheaper than removing a tree that doesn't
Okay.
need to be removed.
What about tying maybe a piece of garden hose and a rope and try to pull it back? Or in the summertime when it gets hotter, will it come straight, maybe straighten back up?
It may.
It's kind of ugly
It may.
right now.
Well, look around us. It's
It didn't
no
break,
worse
though.
than anything
Yeah,
else. And
yeah.
the fact that it didn't break is a good thing, because
Okay.
it means that the wood is still very supple, and it stands a good chance of, if not coming completely up. And
Worst comes to worst, it'll be an S. Because it'll sooner or later.
it'll be a character tree.
Okay.
Character trees
All
are
right.
good so long as they're survivor trees.
What other trees are really good like this? Do you know
Okay.
of some other ones?
We have fir trees. This is the southernmost tip for those. Spruces, again, we're at the southernmost limit. Amazingly enough, a lot of people don't think about it, but our wonderful magnolias,
Oh, yeah.
the Magnolia grandifloras, the big leaf magnolia, they did a fantastic job.
And you'd think with all that surface, they'd really been bad.
No, the wood is very supple like this, not as supple as this, but they bend well. They have a glossy leaf surface, which things hit something that looks like
Yeah,
wax and
yeah,
they slide
yeah,
off,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the ice didn't really stick to it that did to some of the limbs. So whenever it started warming up, boom, they popped right back out.
Yeah.
And the same with the hollies. You know, our evergreen hollies did a tremendous
My
job at
hollies
surviving.
didn't hurt them at all.
No.
Except for the trees that fell on them.
That's what caused most of the problems.
Yeah.
Now, we did lose the tops out of some of the magnolias, nothing too major. There were other branches up there that will take over. We lost a few minor branches. That's not a big deal. You know, what we want to look for is survivability, and the magnolias did a fantastic job.
Great, yeah. Mother Nature will take care of herself sooner or later, hopefully.
Pretty much.
Hopefully.
We have to
Give
help
her
her
a
along
chance,
every once
yeah.
in a while by doing proper corrective pruning. But, you know, for the most part, she knows what she's doing.
Okay, all right. Well, I want to thank you for coming today,
All right.
and it's been great having you.
Okay.
Let's take a look around the campus and see if we can't see some other
Okay.
great things.
All right.
Okay?
We'll see if we can get you pruning.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I tried to get out of work by closing the show early, but Tammy wouldn't let me. So they've got me, I got my, hi Dan, how you like this stuff? Huh? Like my stuff? Huh? Okay, Kathy, what are we doing here? This is a huge tree that he's gonna have me cut on. It's almost, okay, go ahead.
All right. This is a ginkgo, and it's a fairly young ginkgo, probably 8 to 10 years old. But we have a problem here. And if you'll look, we have a branch here that is coming out at a very tight angle. So we want to get rid of this as much as possible so that the tree will eventually grow out better and be a healthier tree.
That's a typical weak crotch, and it's going to come down someday, right?
Right. It's not super weak, but it's something that can be corrected now. Let's go ahead, let's correct it. The tree itself, as a ginkgo, didn't sustain any damage, but this is a quick fix. This is something that we can fix in 2 minutes.
Okay.
And that's even accounting for you.
Okay, now you've got some loppers over there, right?
Right, and what
Does
I can
everybody know
do,
what a lopper is, Tammy?
loppers are used for branches up to 1 inch to 1.5 inches. You don't want to go with anything larger than that. You have your hand pruners, and they'll go for any branch up to 3/4 inch for the most part.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that you have the proper tool for the proper job. Now, this branch is more than 1.5 inches, and what I can do is I can remove some of these branches like this quite easily with this. But we don't want to...
Safety first.
Yes. We don't want to go ahead and use something that will cause problems later on. Now, I've removed most of the weight off that branch. I can come in here and cut that. Now all we have to do is the trim work, which means you get to cut.
And the same rules apply, right?
Exactly. Make
Even
your
though there's
undercut.
not much weight there, there's no reason to take a chance.
Right.
So we're gonna start from the bottom up. And this is sharp, Tammy. You want to be careful. You don't want to get this. Gloves are really good with this because I've cut myself pretty bad with these before.
Yes.
Before I became
it's
a master
very
gardener.
easy. Very easy to cut yourself.
And there's all kind of pruning saws, and this is really a good one because it folds up like that.
You want to make sure that it is locked before you start using it, though, so that it doesn't collapse on you. Because if it collapses on you, it can cut your fingers.
Off even. Don't laugh, Dan.
All right.
Oops. I get you?
Not too bad.
Okay, now.
Cut. Okay, look for the bark swelling. Look for the swelling and come just in front of it.
How's
Make
that?
as flush a cut as you can.
How's that?
If you can angle it even a little more.
Aim it out or down?
Like this. It's kind of an odd angle, which is why we're removing it in the first place.
This tree's not cooperating. And I'm doing something that's really against the rules.
Working?
On these tight crotches, you see where I damaged the tree. It's not bad, but you want to be careful not to do that.
It'll scar over. So that's not too bad. So eventually what will happen, you see how this one was cut a little too close in. We don't have that perfect donut shape. It was cut a little too close on the top. But eventually what you want is to have that donut scarring.
But you can see where it's growing around that.
Exactly.
That's a good stage. Okay.
And this is an excellent tree for ice and wind resistance.
Okay, am I talking too loud with these, take these earmuffs off? Okay, now I can close the show, right, Tammy? Okay, thanks a lot, Kathy. You're the expert,
problem.
and you are an arborist, right?
Yes, I am a certified arborist.
Okay, okay. Well, next year when we have the next ice storm, we'll get you back out here again, okay?
Unfortunately, we probably will.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Killing me here, Bud. You're closing the show. We got like 10 minutes.
The last time we did one, you said you should have just said goodbye. We ran out of time. You should have just said goodbye. So
That was that show.